Brittany Maynard would have been 30 later this month. She chose to die rather than suffer from the cancer that was ravaging her body and her brain. And here's a report from CNN.
It's a heartbreaking story. Brittany Maynard was 29 years old and married for just over a year when she found out she had brain cancer.
I was diagnosed this past New Year's. We went away to the wine country for kind of a New Year's Eve celebration, and by Jan 1, the following day, I was diagnosed with cancer and told I was terminally ill.
Doctors told Maynard in April she had an aggressive brain tumor and gave her 6 months to live. Maynard quickly decided she didn't want her family to watch her dying in pain, so she and her husband moved from California to Oregon to take advantage of the state's Death with Dignity law. Oregon is one of only 5 states with legal protections for terminally ill patients.
It's in a safe spot, and I know that it's there when I need it.
Maynard qualified for physician-assisted suicide in Oregon. She was able to obtain a prescription for lethal medication and to plan out how she wanted to live her final days.
I will die upstairs in my bedroom that I share with my husband, with my mother and my husband by my side, and pass peacefully with some music that I like in the background.
Maynard says while she doesn't want to die, she wants to be able to end her life on her own terms.
I can't even tell you the amount of relief that it provides me to know that I don't have to die the way that it's been described to me that my brain tumor would.
Here's a statement she left after her passing. Goodbye to all my dear friends and family that I love. Today is the day I have chosen to pass away with dignity in the face of my terminal illness, this terrible brain cancer that has taken so much from me, but would have taken so much more. The world is a beautiful place. Travel has been my greatest teacher. My close friends and folks are the greatest givers. I even have a ring of support around my bed as I type. Goodbye, world. Spread good energy. Pay it forward. Anthony Furey is here, and Marissa Semkiw is with me as well. Marissa, I know you're against the idea of legalizing assisted suicide, but people in these situations make a very strong and compelling argument. This person is not going to live.
And my fear is that her argument will be used by people that want it legalized as an excuse to legalize euthanasia writ large with no regard for those various gray areas like depression, like children.
Gwen Fitzgerald is the Director of Communications at Compassion and Choices. Gwen, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here, thank you.
Now, you worked with Brittany, is that right?
Yes, she came to us and we were able to partner with her on a public education campaign about Death with Dignity.
So how would you respond to the argument that Marissa just made about the slippery slope this takes us on?
Well, there's every effort made to prevent the slippery slope. I think Brittany even said she's on no slope. She made a very deliberate decision after educating herself, went through all the requirements of the law, which are extensive, and came to the conclusion that this was the best way to handle the terminal disease that was torturing her and killing her.
You know, Jerry, throughout my career as a columnist and commentator, I've had people get in touch with me and say, I want freedom from government as a farmer, as a gun owner, as a lesbian or gay person, as a person who wants to end my own life, or I have an option for them to end their own life. And I really see this as no different from that. People who are not hurting other people, who want the freedom to do what they want with their life. That is unpopular for others, but so what?
Well, one of the problems I have, Gwen, with it is if someone wants to end their life, I can't stop them, really. But that's really not the issue here. I think what people are looking for is for society to say, yes, we will, even unwillingly, be a part of it. Yes, it's that person's life, but it's our society. We do have a say.
Well, these decisions, how we come into the world, how we leave the world, these are the most private, intimate decisions imaginable. I don't think that society as a whole needs to weigh in on every person's individual decision. What society and the role of government should do is protect individual liberties and individual choices and make sure that those who make those choices and the physicians who support them do not risk jail time or other penalties.
I don't think that jail time is the concern. The concern for me is, what if the person suffers from dementia or Alzheimer's, is unable to make that decision? My concern is that once you legalize it for the purpose of compassionate reasons, there are all of these gray areas that we need to deal with that legislating it won't actually address.
But how do you know it won't address that legislation? I mean, laws that get passed have tons of asterisks towards the end of them, saying in this situation and that. When you talk about someone must be of firm mental state, clearly someone with dementia will not qualify for that. So there can, of course, there could be a robust law that takes the gray area into account. There are many laws in the West that do that sort of thing.
But we've seen examples of this in Switzerland, in the Netherlands, and in Holland. And though it started with euthanasia or assisted suicide for compassionate reasons, people that are terminally ill, it was then expanded to people that suffer from depression, and then it was expanded to children. So these are things that I think we need to talk about as a society and obviously be concerned about.
Gwen, would your group work with someone who wanted to die because they were depressed?
Well, Compassion and Choices would not support that. If someone was depressed, we would like them to have mental health treatment. The laws that we support are pretty narrowly defined, actually. We're talking about adults who are mentally competent and terminally ill with short prognoses for survival. So, Melissa, I hear what you're saying, that there are, in other countries, there are other situations, but Compassion and Choices supports a fairly narrow definition for people looking to exercise death with dignity.
We've had doctors on the show, though, sorry, Marissa, we've had doctors on the show, though, that have said that actually, as advanced as medical science is, Gwen, doctors actually don't know when you're going to die, and they have said to somebody, you have 6 months. That person lived 8 years, but with the legal opportunity to die peacefully, they might not have had those years. They would have said, well, I need to get it over with then.
Well, that's why it's important that each decision be made by the individual. I mean, if you look at what Brittany said, she said, I will continue living my life as long as possible, as long as I have quality of life, I have joy within my life. She wanted that prognosis to be wrong, but she also then told us toward the end she was suffering seizures, extreme pain. Her life was becoming unmanageable because of this terrible health crisis that was destroying her life and taking her life. So, we've got to look at this balance. We don't expect physicians to be right every single time, and that's why it's important that only the individual is in charge of the death with dignity option.
But with Gwen, with all due respect, I wonder, Brittany Maynard was initially diagnosed in January, given 6 months to live. It's now November. I mean, we're talking 11 months down the road. The doctors were wrong there.
No, the terminal diagnosis of 6 months was presented in April when her tumor recurred after the surgery. So in this case, it was pretty clear that she had a 6-month prognosis.
Jerry, I mean, I think Gwen is arguing that someone should have the ability to make choices based on their life and their future, based on whatever information they have on them at hand at that time. Or are we going to make a couple mistakes sometimes? We realize, oh no, maybe one would have been cured if you'd waited just another year through that pain. Fine, of course, there's always going to be these situations, but that's why different people are making different choices in their life. This is a choice that you can't take back. I still think one should have the right to do that.
Well, Marissa brought up how it started as just we're going to help the people in the most desperate circumstance, and then it's the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And quite frankly, I don't have the displaced pride to say Canada can do better than they've done in, say, Belgium, for instance. I think we'll constantly have someone like yourself coming and saying, well, no, it's not your right to say this, and the next thing we know, we'll have children lined up to die.
Yeah, but your argument begins with a bit of paternalism there, because you say we're helping people. You're not helping anyone. You're stepping back and letting them do what they want to do. It has nothing to do with us permitting people to perform this action. Should they hit a threshold of requirements that we say, yes, you may now behave this way. This has to do with us rolling back the restrictions on people making their own health choices.
No, it's not.
And you're talking about what you want to let people do.
You say his argument has to do with paternalism. Your argument is flawed insofar as you've allowed emotion to take a place in public policy. Emotion has no place in public policy making.
There's zero emotion here in what I'm saying.
Oh no, no.
There's absolutely zero emotion here.
No, that's why the side that wants to bring about assisted suicide always brings out somebody like Brittany we're talking about.
I haven't brought anyone out.
Tugs at the heartstrings. More in a moment with our panel. Stay with us on Straight Talk. Brittany Maynard, not quite 30 years of age, accessed physician-assisted suicide in order to end her pain. It has brought the issue back to the fore. The Canadian government is considering now what direction we should go in Canada with physician-assisted suicide. With me, Marissa Semkiw, Anthony Furey, and Gwen Fitzgerald. She's the Director of Communications for Compassion and Choices. But let's take a moment and take a look at a response from another woman who has the same circumstance that Brittany Maynard suffered from. Here's Maggie Karner.
You and I have one big thing in common. I was also diagnosed this past spring with a glioblastoma grade 4 brain tumor. So your video hit pretty close to home for me. I understand the horrible fear that you're facing, the scary predictions of what will happen, the loss of control. Even the stupid name of that tumor sounds just as ominous today as it did when I first heard that word in the doctor's office. Brain cancer sucks. Death sucks too. It rips us from the people and the passions that we love the most. Remember earlier this year when Robin Williams took his own life? The shock, all the remembrances on TV. The world lost some of its beauty and joy that day. Brittany, if you take your life, the world will lose some of its beauty again. Because your video was so popular, someone told me it's almost like you've stepped out on a ledge and you're ready to jump. But when that happens in real life, we try to talk to that person and we say, no, don't jump, don't jump. We try to explain to them why they're valuable, why we want them here longer. We tell them that there can be a better way. But what would happen if our society decided to yell to that ledge jumper, yeah, you're right, there isn't a better way. Go ahead, jumping is the best solution for you. What would that say about us as a society?
So there's a compelling argument from the other side and a woman suffering from exactly the same cancer as Brittany Maynard. Gwen Fitzgerald, Compassion and Choices. How do you react to Maggie Karner's video?
I think that Maggie has every right to do exactly what she wants to in her healthcare situation, and that we should not try to interfere with her choices, nor should we try to interfere with Brittany's. She was told, standing on the ledge for her, she was told exactly what that was going to be. Seizures, pain, personality loss of every function in her body, and that is what she was experiencing. Her choice was death now or death later after severe suffering and torturous symptoms. She said that having this option, having this medication in her hand, provided enormous relief and let her live her final days with her family outside in a very high quality state. And that is what she chose, and it would be great if we could all respect and understand that and support these decisions in society.
Jerry, I see in the two different videos, we see two different young women, informed, educated, making choices about their health care. If I was in their situation, or if a family member, maybe I'd have a very invested emotional opinion. I don't have either opinion there. They're doing what they want to do with their life. And I don't think it's right to say that she's not arguing a legal argument. She's arguing, Brittany, don't do this. And I think it's fine for people to argue this. I think it's fine for you and Marissa to say, no, don't make this choice, please. I just don't think someone should be a criminal in our society if they do make the choice that Brittany made. Persuade her as much as you want.
It's not the person who wants to die who maybe faces being a criminal. It's the person who assists them in doing it. And here's a little bit of a different wrinkle for us in Canada than for people in the United States we're talking about. We have a public healthcare system. People who want to access that system to die have to deal with the opinions of the rest of us because they are saying the rest of you must be compelled to participate in my death.
No, I don't like that argument because it's the same argument people use that we should ban smoking, we should ban people being fat, we should ban these foods because we have a public health system, we pay for it. No, the answer to that, and it's an interesting question you pose, the answer to that is to change our healthcare system, not to change people's freedoms.
I'm okay with that. Marissa?
Look, what I'll say with respect, most people come at me and they say I'm insensitive, that I lack compassion. This, to me, it has nothing to do with compassion. With respect to Maggie, I mean, she presents a valuable point because what are we saying to society when we give you that way out? You've lost hope. We lose hope in society when you have just a little little pill or an injection that could ultimately end someone's life. When there's life, there's hope, and we're taking that away from people by giving them that option.
Gwen, one of the things that bothers me in this debate is this idea that people have the right to die with dignity, and it makes me furious to suggest that there is such a thing as an indignity in death.
Well, I think what people are referring to is the fact that they can exercise some control in a situation when the outcome is predetermined. Brittany's destiny was set when she received this diagnosis. As Anthony said, she was a very empowered healthcare consumer. She attempted the options for a cure, but she didn't have a different option here. So what she found the best way for her to proceed and live her life fully, and yes, with dignity on her terms, was to have some control over how this disease would progress and what her final days would be like. And again, she found enormous comfort in having this option. So for some people, this will be something that is very meaningful. And other people, please, they have no, obviously no compunction to take this option. It's a choice that some people find very helpful.
Gwen, thank you for your time.
All right, thanks, you guys. It was fun.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And Anthony and Marissa, thank you.
Thank you.